obviously Sly sort of donned his producer's hat when you were in the studio.
Yeah.
Was there much leeway that you were allowed to in terms of the drum parts, or did he kind of dictate what he wanted? And
Absolutely, with leeway. Yeah, there was a lot of leeway, and we would discuss stuff sometimes. If he heard something and was looking for something specific, but sometimes, I'd come up with something. Sometimes he'd come up with something. Sometimes we'd argue,
right,
and find a middle place. But it was always, it wasn't about, well, I'm going to play this because I thought of it, or you got to play that because I thought of it. It would be, at the end of the day, it would be what needed to be there.
What's best for the song? Yeah, nice. Okay.
Because I mean, he was a drummer in his heart. I mean,
right.
He was great. He understood rhythm, so it gave me the freedom to. I'd come up with something this is wild, and he'd have the biggest smile on his face. You know, so I mean, it was a pleasure. It was great.
I can imagine.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation.
Yeah, put a smile on Sly's face with your drums. Yeah, yeah. That's all. That's everything you need.
And he was one of the first ones. Back in that time period, drums and records were kind of mixed in the background. We were one of the first ones to put the drums up in front,
right,
and put everything on top of that. And so the rhythm and this drum sound would drive the record, especially on those singles and stuff.
Yeah, because very much you're playing like four. It's not like you're playing 2 and 4. You're playing 4. Dance to the music and stuff. That's right in your face. That's the locomotive coming down the track right there. And then because then the other thing, he was also instrumental in bringing in drum machines, kind of those, like I'm thinking of,
later on, like Fresh album.
Yeah, but I mean Family Affair and stuff, I mean that kind of bon tempi, kind of almost like the cheesy organ.
Well, that was, exactly. It actually came about, that's the period, 71.
Right.
When I left the group, and so, he had a lot of pressure to continue record and do records. And I wasn't showing up in the studio. I left the group, like I said. So the drum machine was kind of what am I going to do? He had a drum machine so he could sit right, because we used to go in the studio and we'd create everything in the studio.
Right.
There was an idea, start, rhythm was there, everything was there. So he did that actually out of just to continue to move forward.
Out of
he had some
necessity.
drum machine, and in those days, the drum machine wasn't like drum machines now.
Yeah.
This was one of those things you used in a cocktail lounge.
Yeah.
Just, kind of. So it's what he did, which was very clever. Again, he had a wonderful sense of rhythm.
Right.
And so he ended up like on Family Affair, for instance, and some of the other ones he used the drum machine on. The rhythm that you heard was it was corny.
Yeah.
So instead of press the button, start, that's the one.
Yeah.
So he'd go in 2 beats, or 1.5 beats, or 3 beats, or whatever, and turn the beat around and start there. So it pulled the phrasing inside out.
Nice.
Wow, what's that? It's made it unique.
Yeah.
It's kind of like playing a minor chord against a major chord or something. It creates this other element. So it was brilliant, and it had a sound. I mean, as soon as you heard it, it caught your ear.
Sure, yeah. No, it was very unique.
So that's how they came about.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. Now, there's 5 studio records that you're on, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then there's also the Woodstock double kind of CD DVD,
right?
Which came out, I think, like last year or the year before, possibly.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic documentation of the whole Woodstock set that you played. I mean, when at that time, did you realise kind of quite how that was going to be?
Woodstock, the event itself. No, nobody knew that it was going to be what it was. Yeah. So Michael Lang, who was the producer in Woodstock, put it together. Him and I think it was already Cornfield. It was a music and arts fair originally, intended for maybe 40,000-50,000 people.
Right.
And so a lot of bands didn't even want to do it because at that time there were a lot of outdoor festivals, nothing to the scope of Woodstock, but live outdoor concerts and everything. And they were always, either dry and dusty and hot, and there was no tarps for the band. burn up in the sun, or it was raining and you get electrocuted on the microphones, and you know, the electricity and the water on the stage. It wasn't fun.
No,
muddy and
yeah, right.
so those things aren't fun. You know, a lot of bands had turned it down, but our manager and somebody talked us into doing it, so we you know, did it, and then you didn't realize that there was anything special happening yet till maybe that it was a 3 or 4 day event. So you start hearing things on the news of this masses of people heading for this concert. That's the same concert we're playing at. It's Woodstock, and then the freeways, the highways started closing down because of the traffic jams, and people they just left their cars, and it was on the news, so it got all this attention, and then the amass of 500,000 people. So it got the world media attention. And you're still, you're watching news, you're hearing about this. Wow, what's this gonna be like, you know? But when I remember going over this hill, or we got there in a helicopter because you couldn't get there. Traffic was, and I remember seeing off in the distance this haze, and I couldn't tell what it was, and then when I realized that it was a sea of people, it was like it just kind of took your breath away, you know. And then landing, and you get out, and you could just feel and smell and taste the presence of this. It was really, you knew this was going to be unique, and it's a very powerful thing. But the experience of actually going on a plane, which we were supposed to go on at 8 p.m. We went on at 3 a.m. So that was quite a lot to deal with, as far as, you kind of get your adrenaline up, you get ready to play, and then Michael kept coming in and saying, you got to wait another hour, man, everything's delayed, you know. And so up and down and up and down and up and down, right? And then finally, when it was time to go on, 3 a.m., just realizing that those people had been there for 2-3 days, listening to music, the sun, the rain, day, night, and here you had to go on and perform do your show at 3 a.m. after they'd been beat up, and it was raining at that time. It was still raining, and then everyone just huddled up in their bags, and they're done with it. And that was pretty tough. It was like you had to kind of really gather yourself, and we kind of all looked at each other and just decided to, well, all you could do is just go on and do your thing and do it the best you can. You know? You just got to kind of approach with that attitude, not have the fear of the reality of what was actually
I understand.
And, so a couple songs into the set, they started coming out of their tents and their sleeping bags and getting up and getting into it. And you could see the energy, you could feel it. And when you start feeling it, when they all got into it and chanting and dancing, and it's just amazing.
Incredible.
That was a unique. That's something you can't duplicate.
No. That
particular one. I mean, we played the big crowds and different times, but that one stood out.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic. The set that you play at that was incredible.
Well, it was first for everybody. It was the first we've experienced something like that. First, the audience experienced something like that. So that made it unique and special, and it carved a path for big festivals into the future.